I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order of the Lambersville Unified School District Facilities Use Committee meeting. It is Tuesday, October 25th at 6:30. So roll call, please.
Shane Nielsen,
I'm here.
David Pombo,
Here.
Alvina Kaiser, here. Jimmy LeGrand,
Here.
Erica Smith Payne,
Here.
Royce Ruff.
Here.
Everybody's here. Receiving of public comments. If you have something you want to talk about that's not on tonight's agenda, this is your time. If it's on the agenda, we use a more free-flowing thing anyway, so you're always welcome to talk. So.
I would like to note that Patrick Martinez messaged me on my way here, and he will be a little late today because of traffic. So I think Patrick Martinez, the girls
Martinez.
softball.
Okay, yeah, the softball.
So he did
We
message
got
me
a
saying
ways
he
to
would
go
be
to
late.
get to that.
I wasn't sure if he was trying to use public comment. I just want to let you know.
No, it's on. The use of the high school baseball, softball fields is on the agenda.
Okay, cool.
And I think and also
That's probably him then.
memo 1, 2.
And Ben needs to be.
Right, and Ben has to talk about that anyway, so we'll get to that. So, facility use update, meeting minutes. Any questions on the minutes?
They're getting long.
They're getting, well, someone likes to talk, so. At least there's good news. The usage reports.
That begins on page 5. Oh. Do you have page numbers? I guess I don't have page numbers.
Nope, it's a tab though, which is good by me.
Yes.
Tabs work
We
great.
have many tabs listed by site, by facility, by the building, because I know that was one of the things that we had an issue with. It was all tied in together as one. We could separate by tiers, but we were finding that some of the buildings were hard to see. And so Rita took a lot of time to separate the grass areas, and I know we'll discuss the site maps later that can be uploaded, but you can see here, the first one is Altamont, the multi-purpose room with the heaviest use next to the softball field.
But that's I think it's important to distinguish too, the thing we finally got out of all of this was you can go into subgroups, and now we can
Yes.
see, next page is 2A, so we can see, the
Tier
youth groups, for
3.
example, in 2 months really only used about 10 or 15 hours a month in time but then 2B used quite a bit more. Okay, that's okay.
Interesting how you find things out when you start.
Start
working
playing
with
around,
it.
yeah. But it looks like we're getting a lot of classroom use out of Altamont. I don't think we get that in quite as much at the other schools.
No.
So, is that Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts? Is that what it is?
Yes, I believe so. And then we
Sure.
also have, at Wickland Elementary, there's a therapy that's used for a student after school.
Bethany's multi-purpose room.
It's quite a few, because we've now separated them by tiers.
There we go. But still, it looks to me the main usage of the room is gonna be the 1As, right? Which is the school, which is kind of what we want, but it's still not, even at Bethany, it's not all that much. I mean, I guess school was closed for most of this, but for at least a month of the report,
Yeah, this is the
the
first quarter.
school only used the multipurpose room for 7 hours. And now they're
Probably
booking
after
it
hours, yeah.
every day for 5 hours a day. Okay, we'll
Yeah,
get
and
to
that's
that.
gonna be
Well,
on
but
the
that's,
agenda.
clearly volleyball's not in here, because there's no way they were only using 7 hours in 2
Correct.
months if volleyball's not in here, so I'm
Yeah,
not
'cause
sure
through
it's
September
getting
30th.
entered
Which day you're
right.
talking
So
about?
this was prior to
Bethany.
volleyball. Okay.
Bethany, I was looking
No,
at West.
volleyball was in September.
Was it?
This goes through September 30th. Yeah, volleyball wasn't only 3 weeks long.
Oh, right.
Yeah, volleyball's still going right now.
Yeah, it started in September, so I'm not sure, maybe it's not getting coded right. Something,
Check
it can't, exactly right, it can't be.
Where's Bethany?
Lambersville,
That's how I say it.
see, that makes more sense, 35 hours by the school organizations, mostly for volleyball, I'm guessing. And then 50 for the 2As. Questa multipurpose room. That one is getting so much usage.
Cresta has the most usage, that multi-purpose room.
Do they really?
And then
they
Wickland.
don't. Right? No, Wickland has the most use of them.
Yeah, Wiccan has the most usage, but I think that's.
215 hours versus like 165.
But most of that, 215 of it is
Almost all school play, probably.
stuff, yeah. School, and because you guys probably had to play under the tier 2As, right?
It would have gone under tier 1.
Or tier 1, I'm sorry, yeah, tier 1, so that's probably quite a bit of it.
Yeah, well, even if we weren't, we don't pay for those because it's a school function. We're just.
But again, I don't think it really interfered with, it didn't interfere with school stuff, and, you know, that is the purpose of it, and then the high school.
Oh, lots of stuff on there. High school's got lots of hours. It's very popular.
By soccer field, do you mean the grass soccer field?
Which school are you on?
At Mountain House High School?
This is probably
Yeah, 'cause
terribly
that's just
exciting for the
200
audience.
hours.
Just watching us all flip through pages that you can't see.
170 of it was LUSD organizations. So do you know in the calendar, do you know in the civic permits, is soccer field, or are they calling the stadium soccer field and stadium? Don't know.
I see stadium press box. It
'Cause
doesn't
stadium-
say stadium.
Yes, it does.
Stadium, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Right
So
above it.
stadium's got like 420 hours with 430 hours of usage just from the school organizations. I'm just curious if soccer field means soccer field or if someone's,
Right now for Monmouth High School, if you see, this is not changed. This was the previous report. So they just changed it yesterday.
okay.
So it's all
Okay, all right. Okay.
Which is October.
Oh, that's okay.
right now, if you log into Monmouth High School, you will see Monmouth soccer field, separate, the track is separate, entire separate.
Okay. But what are we calling for the future? Are we calling the soccer field the grass between? Okay, great. Okay, cool. That's what I want to make sure. Okay.
We have not opened any grass field or any baseball field or anything, so
Well, then the report's wrong, because it says the baseball field was used for 14 hours by a 2B. The soccer field was used by 12 hours by a 2B. The softball field was used for 12 hours.
this was the earlier report, so they were pulling, I don't know how that soccer
Okay.
field was coming up.
Okay.
That's what they were cleaning up on.
Okey-doke.
I wonder if we could start it later than the July 1.
Well, and I would start at October 1 from
Right.
here forward. It doesn't make
Yeah, I
any
think
sense, if,
so.
especially for the high school, if it, stupid glasses. I can't read without these. I don't have my good glasses. Yes, I wear bifocals. I am old. So I'm gonna do this the whole time.
I have
Works great.
bifocals too.
And then the finance report.
Yes, we restructured that to show the carryover by building.
This is much better. Thank you so
Yes.
much. And
That
I'm
made
gonna
more
guess,
sense.
we start doing a lot of the maintenance, break time,
Some.
summertime.
Most of it's summer.
So it's, you know, a lot of this will carry over, and then the expense report at the end of June will show most of the expenditures, so.
That made more sense this way.
Yeah, I agree. And then the maps. I love the maps, by the way. They're very helpful.
Yeah, they're nice.
Any questions on any of that stuff? I mean, it kind of shows what we've been talking about, that most of the stuff, most of the reasons these facilities aren't available, folks, is because they're used by the students first and foremost. The highest usage among everything just about was Tier 1A, which is school-based organizations, school foundations, school-based teams. But we're still gonna keep trying to find ways to work through it out, so. Anything else on usage reports? Nope. Okay, denied applications, Harmonies with Hannah.
Should have brought my detailed notes. I believe this is lack of custodial coverage.
Here?
Was it?
We wanted a grant.
Oh, that's right.
Wanted a what?
Grand piano, we don't have one there.
I don't think we have a grand piano in the entire district.
Not until we have a theater.
Those things, I mean,
Point we will.
does the high school have a regular piano?
Notes before.
We have one upright piano.
Just one. You want another one? You want another one?
We'll be purchasing two with the,
Do you want one?
What?
I might have one to donate.
Oh, now yours broke up.
You want what, money?
Let me know. Let me know.
on the piano.
It's in good condition.
Pianos are like cars.
It's in good condition. It's a very good piano. We'll have to talk later. So no one's here from Harmonies with Hannah, so denied application is denied. Pending applications, Mountain House Wolverines.
This obviously is even beyond this particular site. because we found, as we had with the first window, that some of the sites have some longer windows on their calendar. So I did address this in cabinet this morning, which Dr. Gill will be speaking to the sites about the dates and times that they are not making it easier for the other
We are
organizations.
aware that there are some issues trying to reserve multipurpose rooms right now based on them being maybe reserved in a broad spectrum, in a shotgun manner, I guess is the best way to put it. And that's not the purpose or intent of this process, and staff will be advised accordingly. Go ahead. Just remember, we're being recorded, so.
How's everyone doing? Just two questions. We got rejection emails, so I just want to understand what that was. And I think you just addressed it.
Yes.
Right, okay.
We're working on
Okay,
those dates
okay.
and times at some of
Okay.
the site
So
requests.
is it truly a rejection, or is it just, like you said, you're gonna,
Are you
work
with
out with the staff?
Wolverines?
Yeah.
We will definitely be in touch with you.
Okay.
Because what happens is when the first rejection hits it at the site, the email notification goes out.
Okay.
So that's actually what alerted me to take a closer look at it. and
Okay.
Address it at cabinet this morning.
okay,
And this just came out like yesterday, right, or last week, something like that, this
I think it was last
denial?
week.
I got 3, maybe the last 2 days, and then maybe a couple last
Right,
week.
so it
Then
is-
others were pending.
Having a hard time just, on the permits, just putting in the request even, because it just says dates and times all blocked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're working on that. There are, we open it to the schools first. They're supposed to be finished by a certain date, and then it goes to the tier one organizations, and they're supposed to be finished by
Right.
a certain date. And if a tier one organization can't put their dates in because the school hasn't put their dates in, it's a domino effect. And that's kind of where we're at with this right now.
Okay.
And at least one site, possibly 2 sites, have basically just said, nah, nobody gets anything until we figured it out, and that's not the purpose either. So
Okay.
we're trying to get all of that addressed, and I'm hoping that sooner rather than later. We do have another meeting scheduled November 9th
November 9th.
Okay,
for all the denied applications.
okay,
Okay, that's your opportunity to come to us again, and we can see if there's something we can work out. We're gonna sit here with calendars, we'll sit here with schedules and see what we can
so
figure
do we
out.
have to resubmit an application if it's rejected?
No, we do not need to have you resubmit it.
No resubmittals?
Right, we
Okay.
will work with Rita and working with the
Okay,
calendar.
okay. I don't think we wanted to.
No, that would stink.
It's a lot of work.
It was
We
denied, so
understand.
we're gonna resend it again. And then the other application we had was for a Sunday usage in the spring at the high school. And every other usage is for practice, for just basketball practice. And this one would be for an amateur athletics union league on Sundays.
Like a tournament or the whole
It'd
league?
be a league, so it would be every Sunday, and the reason, as you guys know who are in youth sports, Saturdays are really busy for anyone in that particular sport in the spring. So we would like to put a Sunday league where it's the same teams every week, and they have standings, and then they can see their standings and
And I
things
know, I
like that.
think this discussion, and I don't remember which organization it was, that we were concerned about every single Sunday and custodial coverage, because I know last year we had issues with keeping custodians, custodians getting sick. They
Okay.
were absent a lot because they were working an enormous number of hours.
Okay.
So we've been trying to look out for our employees as well.
Oh, I understand, yeah.
So every Sunday, I could see already would be difficult, them working 7 days a week potentially.
I see, I see.
So that may be why that, if you're asking for every Sunday, that might be why that one was.
How long is the Sunday window? All day?
Well, we put our wish list, of course, so we put March 5th to
No,
May
I mean,
14th.
how long is each
Oh, in
day?
a day,
We're looking at a 6-7 hour window,
yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's,
So,
That can become a problem.
It's probably custodial, yeah. Jimmy would probably know
is
whether
there a
or not
way
that's viable.
to address that, you know?
I mean, it's hard to guarantee a custodian every Sunday. That's ends up being the problem. So,
So ultimately, what would happen is if we'd approved it and then we couldn't get a custodian, you guys would all show up and couldn't get in.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
and that would be a little bit worse than getting told right now that you can't have every Sunday.
Okay.
And I do foresee that being an issue. I mean, it's already, I get what you're saying, because you're
Yeah.
like, everybody's already got soccer and football and baseball and every other thing on Saturday. Sunday is a great day for that,
Right,
except for staffing.
okay. So that's the biggest challenge is
What's the
staffing.
custodian coverage on Saturdays usually? Are they just 8 to 5 or whatever?
are they what?
What's the custodian hours on Saturdays?
There's only one custodian there on Saturday. She works 8 to 4:30, something like that.
Okay. Would we be able to move it possibly to Saturday off of that application? And would we
Have to look at
resubmit it?
availability.
Where do you need, where do you want the high school?
Ideally.
I mean,
ideally.
I'm assuming that band takes up literally all things
That's outside.
all time, and the NPR and the small gym and the
Right.
large gym.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean,
Notice,
I
notice,
haven't been to
notice
mine.
the smiles on David's face.
I don't think that's quite accurate.
I don't think it's that far off.
Because I don't think they do anything inside. At least I know they use the quad. I've seen them use the quad, and I've seen them use the field.
Sometimes they use
I
it-
would say
use
that
the-
it's.
I wish we had someone we could ask. Is there anyone here who knows how the high school does their things?
I'm looking right at him.
I was waiting for him to walk out.
Just remember, I'm the basketball coach, and he's the principal.
Say,
I'm the former band teacher. So a couple of things. First of all, on the Sunday usage, you have to remember that when you have something like that happening all day long, you have to have 2 custodians because you have to have somebody break them out for breaks and lunch. So you can't just have one person, you have to have 2. The other thing that, what was I thinking? You were talking about, the gyms, because I know we just rejected, and this hurts me too, and my wife gets after me because our own kids play AAU. But when we're requesting, and I get it, like I think it was like a 7 to 8:30 every, or something like that, every Monday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Friday, or something like that. But you have to remember, we have 6 basketball teams. We have our winter percussion. I'm trying to get in there. Cheer, dance. I mean, these are teams that are practicing consistently. And so our gyms, from the time school ends during the week until about 9:30 every night, it's full of high school kids doing stuff in those gyms. And so we really
what about on
want.
Saturdays?
What about on Saturdays?
So Saturdays are a little freer, and I know I can't remember whether we approved the Saturday games yet. I think we're pending those because we're still finishing our schedules for the basketball season. My practice is not to just deny them. I leave them in there until we finish scheduling, and then I'll go in and approve stuff for the holes that we have, because we'll schedule it right through. The Sunday usage I am concerned with, because with the amount of custodians that we have, that what was said happens is they'll work 6 or 7 days a week, and then Tuesday they're exhausted and they will call in sick frequently. And ask Jimmy, it happens a lot. And they may not necessarily be sick, but I would be sick too if I was working 7 days a week, and then all of a sudden Tuesday comes around and I'm like, I can't work anymore. I'm tired, I've been on my feet. And so people have intentions, and our people say, oh, I want overtime. But ultimately that overtime is physically taxing on people, and we don't have the pool of folks that we need in order to really run a rec program at our schools on top of what we already have for the schools. I mean, 6, and then, volleyball is going to be coming up, and then volleyball conditioning is going to have to fit in with the 6 basketball teams, the dance team, the cheer team, and all that kind of stuff. So our facilities are booked to the max at this point, and it's not that, and we try and slip people into the little bits of time that we have, and we'll continue doing that. But other than that,
When will you know about your Saturday schedule from March to May?
in fact, we talked about it today. I'm having Lavinia finalize that by the end of this week.
Okay. So then by the time the 9th rolls around,
Yeah, and I know in the past we've had, not AAU, but like MHYB does their Saturday games, or they did last year at the high school, and we're trying to accommodate that. But we have to know, there's a couple of tournaments that we're hosting
Right.
that we have to finalize before we release it to community organizations.
do you think
But
you'll have that before the
Saturdays typically are better. We don't, typically the practices and things like that are on weekdays.
So then if at least if we have something by the 9th, then we can come back and take a look at the calendars that are there and see what's available.
Just out of curiosity, on the janitorial coverage on Saturdays, What about the janitors working late? Is that like not a regular thing? Will they do overtime for that, or do they like to get out of there like right at 4:30? 'Cause I know when I was working a lot of overtime, it was usually easier for me to do a 10-hour day than it was for me to do like a
Custodian work
bunch of
Saturday has an
sevens.
area. She's there to clean a specific area of the campus, not necessarily deal with the use facilities. So depending on what it was, if it was a big usage, we would bring another staff member or two in, whatever we needed to do, to cover the event. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I was just trying to see whether or not you could extend one person's hours to sort of do the event a little bit later in the day, and then you'd have like less custodial issues because there's one kind of already there, and then the other one could kind of work it out and you takes care of at least a portion of Ben's issue. But
I think what Jimmy said is that's typically, if it's a big event, like if it's MHYB coming in, we hire an additional person because the person who's there on Saturday is working a full schedule with things that they have to do. And so if there's an additional thing going on that's going to pull that person away from the health and
I
safety
think
needs of the
what
school.
Corey's talking about isn't the thing that's going on. It's okay, her day ends at 4:30. If we have an event from 5 to 7, is it easier for someone to cover that 5 to 7? That same person for those 2 hours, would that be easier over time than for them to cover on a Sunday, for example?
or even to start the event later where like, you know, like you said, she has to break. You bring in someone for sure. Like I'm with you there. I'm just saying like maybe the event starts later and then when she gets off, she breaks that person and then you've dealt with the whole break issue and then they kind of both do a little bit of overtime and then someone finishes out the end of the shift and you can kind of overlap
think
a little
that's
bit. I mean, I don't know.
definitely
I'm just
something
trying to
that's
think of scheduling
possible.
stuff. I assume Jimmy's the master at this. So
My big thing is it really hurts during the week when our people are gone, and it's happening more and more often. And you know, I haven't done a study on it, but I'm willing to bet you that one of the reasons is they're getting overworked. They are working literally 6 or 7 days a week and some of our people, like a lot of times Jesus will be done at the end of his day. He'll be walking out and then something happens where we're like, and Jesus is like, I'll just stay for another 2 hours. I'll get the job done. That's Jesus. He'll do anything. But that's the thing. Most of our people will be like, I'll just do it. And then they do it and then they get sick or they're just exhausted. So
I know that staffing has been a challenge, but is there a possibility of adding more custodial staff to cover some of these things? And if the cost is, if it adds cost, we may have to adjust some of these prices to deal with it, but I would rather see people that aren't working a bunch of overtime and calling in sick on a Tuesday or a Wednesday because they've worked 13 days straight or whatever it is.
or what about like a contingent sort of temporary sort of staff where they aren't necessarily a full-on custodian, we hire them on a contingency basis for individual events or like that. Is there a reason we don't do things like
You
that?
can do that. We have it in our facility handbook, page 26 of 35, about a select list of district employees approved in advance by the facility use as long as they meet these certain conditions. They can also come in and help, but they would
That's
have to
district
ensure
employees.
that the facility is cleaned after the event.
I didn't mean district employees though. I meant
but
like
Might be something
it's-
to,
other staff, like a temp agency, like an on-call sort of staff. Is that the kind of thing we've looked at? I mean, the cost would have to transfer onto
The other problem you've got
facility,
is
to the
too, while
people,
they're
so.
not, if they become
well, I
school
know
employees,
that.
there's a background check that has to take place too. And we're gonna have a
We have
hard
to-
time doing
If
temporary.
they become
employees.
school employees, right? But I mean, working a Saturday, for example, wouldn't necessarily be a
They'd
student
have to be
employee.
a school employee if we pay them.
yeah, we have to be
That's
mindful
not.
of CSEA
I
as
mean,
well.
that might be. I mean, maybe
mean,
that's a
if-
school thing. I don't know.
We're paying them, they have to be a school district employee, and therefore would have to pass a background check. Nope, you cannot, state law.
America.
It might be America, but I would say California for that one.
Yes. And
So I don't necessarily have a dog in this fight, but I'll ask a question. Why not put the people who are in charge of the athletics and give them some sort of custodial responsibility for cleanup? And I don't know how complicated that would be, but I know in Tracy Express, the Spring Softball League in Tracy, they're in charge of maintaining their facilities, for example. Now, granted, that's an outside facility. It's different than a gym, but just I thought I'd throw that
Well,
out.
but I do kind
I'd
of
say
think,
there's something in our handbook about the people managing, like it's directly related to baseball, I think, and like baseball improvements, that sort of thing. But
that was,
there's something along those lines in the handbook.
it was,
where
yeah,
you can do that.
we couldn't, but that was using outside folks to improve our facilities because again, we're not allowed to, but I think what he's talking about is really just, the point of the janitor isn't just cleaning it, because they can have janitor custodian, I apologize. I'm offending everybody, who cares? It's not just the cleaning of it, it's not just the maintenance of the facility, it's also keys, opening and closing. And we've run into issues where if a staff opens a facility for themselves, they've opened facilities for themselves at times they weren't supposed to by using those keys. And so it created a whole process where we had to have a set of checks and balances in there. I don't necessarily think it's a non-starter. I would just think it'd be a situation where we'd want to have the employee manager at the site discuss what that would mean and how they'd want to see that done. I happen to know for a fact, most of the coaches do get involved in that kind of stuff. I mean, they do
So-
help clean up and stay after and maintain, so.
One of the remedies there is that a hefty deposit is required
yeah.
and fees are deducted out of that deposit for, whatever,
Right.
whatever the list of infractions one might come up with, leaving a gate unlocked or leaving a Coca-Cola spill on the gym floor or something like that. I don't mean to oversimplify it, I'm just
No, it's-
trying to share what I've learned over in Tracy.
Of course, you would need a staff member to verify that all those things were done with a checklist, which means they still have to be there. They may not have to do all the heavy lifting in your scenario, but they've still got to be on-site, opening and closing and inspecting and.
Would they
and those-
necessarily have to be there the entire time that the facility is open?
If we're paying them, yes. And more importantly, then, there's also someone, if it's not a district employee watching the facilities and there's no district employees on site, it's kind of been a situation where all of our plant managers, the principals have said, we'd really like someone there
Whole time?
the
Oh,
whole
okay.
time. Just, it's a safety thing. It's, if an emergency occurs, I mean, if there's a stopped toilet or, someone's hurt and we don't have a fire alarm goes off or an alarm goes off and no one's here,
I guess it's different for an indoor facility versus an outdoor field.
massively different. Massively different. The outdoor facilities, the gate's unlocked, you use it, we check it the next day and make sure it's not terrible and it's in great shape. But, between bathrooms and the last time we started off trying to do something like that where the custodians would only come in at the beginning and the end. And then for these major events, they're running out of tissues and toilet paper and backed up toilets and no one's there to fix it. And so it kind of, there's really not a whole lot of options when it comes down to it. We need to have someone from district staff there, but how we go about doing that, there might be some options within that. And that's, I do think, something we can talk to the coaches about, so. Thank you. So hopefully we can get something, hopefully we can figure something out. And again, we'll be here November 9th, right? I want to say November 8th, but that's a very different day. We will not be here for that day. Yes, and I can't wait for that day to come. I'm just going to say that. Political. Me? No, I'm just that then one piece of the drama will be over and then we're just going to have 4 more years of presidential backbiting for me to live with and all the rest of us too, so.
And just really quickly, my application was for that Sunday league, so knowing the challenges with staffing. we
Does
would
he need to reapply for
work on
Saturdays?
Saturday.
Or can we just move the Sunday application to Saturdays?
You can move it? Okay, appreciate that.
So, and again,
Okay.
come back the 9th if you don't get what you want, and we'll see if there's something we can work on.
Okay, sounds good. I will, all right,
Thank you.
okay, all right, thank you all.
Unapproved use notifications, I don't see any. Change tier status, none. Civic permit, revised facility site names.
I think you saw listed on
We kinda went
the
through all of that.
facility use, we had that.
Excuse me.
And then you got the maps too, right, showing the
Right,
names of
that's-
some of the extra fields, so.
And then we would tie in fees to each of those sections. Do you see anything in there that looks out of the ordinary from what it's labeled? Actually, that's an item later on D, but.
What is it?
Well, like I said, the high school's not labeled where the soccer field is, but that's fine that we've explained it.
There's no labeling on the quads. Is the quad not an option, or do we just not label it on any of the quads?
High school?
No, just on all of them.
Bethany, there's a
Quads.
quad. At Wickland, there's a quad. We
Yeah.
do rent out the quads.
Yeah, we have.
I'm just saying they're not labeled, that's all. They're still rentable, though, right?
Yes,
Yeah, they're just not listed here.
Rent-outable.
They're doubtable, that's a word.
edible.
I like it personally. All right, and reimbursements to organizations. Don't see any, so finance
We
report,
already looked at that.
page 11, we looked at that, we're in good shape there. And again, remember, folks, it looks like we're running in cash positive, but most of this stuff is gonna happen over the summertime.
Can,
so-
can we go back to the maps?
You bet.
Yes.
On Wickland, there are now 3 soccer fields. Did we discuss splitting up soccer field 1 and 2? Because I thought we sort of were going to do them by
Why we're bringing
quadrants.
it forward, because we weren't quite
We just
sure
skipped
what
right
we
past
wanted
it.
to do there.
Oh, I didn't think we were on maps yet. The school
later.
site maps on civic permit
Oh,
website.
it's
is-
different than facility names. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Jumping
We
forward,
called
yeah.
it the high school and Wickland,
We'll come to that later.
yes.
Is that on here too? Oh, school site maps.
Yeah, it's
There
under
are also so much
7D.
overlap.
Well, no, Shane just runs through
We skipped the
everything.
finance
Not
report up to like item
impatient.
2 or something.
We did the,
earlier.
Yeah, we
I
did.
did, yes,
it out of
that's
order.
what I do.
I'm lost.
I run out of order.
Staff hours report, I had a detailed one last time, I didn't include one this time. It seems it's similar, and Jimmy's taken quite a load off of my.
Yeah, but Jimmy's
plate.
still staff hours,
Yeah, so it had the hours
but
shifted.
it's not in here, right? You didn't.
No, it's just, it's not, it's very similar to what we provided last time, and I guess we
I
could
would
have given
really
the
like
same
to
thing.
see for the 9th,
Okay,
that report get updated because these, to me, these are the big ones. It's not
yes.
from November through April. It's when we're doing this big crunch of applications and reviews and everything else. So if we could have the report for November 9th to kind of see where we're at and updating that,
Okay,
that would be helpful.
All right.
all right, now we're on,
Now, information and discussion items, use of the high school baseball and softball fields.
sorry, Ben.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
please.
we'll start with you if you don't mind, Mr. Faubert.
I don't know what I'm supposed to present. I was just asked to come.
Well, I think the question has been,
He listened.
Yeah, I think Patrick might have some ideas.
To come that I might be interested.
so is it,
Yeah.
my question is, at this point, are we have you and we have Jimmy here, are we willing to open up those fields for outdoor use, for outside use? Jimmy mentioned last time, varsity fields were never really done, but they also had JV fields which were available for use, which we don't have. So we're in kind of a unique situation with just one of each field, so. wanna
And
hear
we don't
from
have
you
restrooms.
About,
I said, and we don't have restrooms, but I don't know if that's an issue.
have restrooms
Just
out
gotta
there
make sure
either,
that's,
too, which-
Right.
just gotta make sure they know that when they rent them.
No restroom.
No restrooms.
availability. I mean, I don't think I have like a for sure answer for you. I have reservations about having it be used. The dugouts out there is the only storage we have right now, and so all of our equipment is stored in the dugouts. I don't know that unless we got some storage out there that we would be able to allow the use of the dugouts. I would suggest that if we, I mean, really honestly, it's not up to me. I'm the high school principal. I manage the site. It's up to the district and what you guys refer over to the board. So, you know, I have my reservations about having it used. If it is used, I think that the usage fees should be commensurate with the amount of money that it costs to keep it up. That clay costs a lot of money. In order to have it ready to be used before an event, it needs to be, you know, dragged appropriately, and the lawns need to be, right now, quite frankly, the lawns need to be fixed before we offer usage of it. There's a whole swath of the varsity baseball field that's brown. I don't know, I haven't been out there in a couple weeks, so maybe it's greened up. Is it getting better, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we just need to make sure that if we're offering use of softball and baseball fields, that we take care of it by making sure we charge and then use that money to regularly upkeep that field. Now, the grass soccer field is another story. It's a grass field, and it's a little easier to allow usage for that. The issue that we have right now that we hope will be solved by the fact that we're going to have fencing that we're taking down and hopefully putting up as a fence around the softball field is that the softball field's open right now. We hope that very soon with the excess fencing that we're taking down around the current construction sites that we'll be able to put a home run fence around the softball field as well, which would close that off and make it easier to rent the grass fields. Right now it's wide open. I don't necessarily, as a community member and a site manager, mind the site being used. We just have to remember that it was initially built for high school students and high school student use, and when it comes around to their season and the day that they need to use it, that it needs to be maintained and ready to go, which means additional staff time. Dragging that field takes, I don't know how long does it take to drag the field?
Softball takes longer.
Yeah.
That's all there.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a good amount of time, and the lawns have to be appropriately manicured, and it's a lot of work. And so again, right now with the staffing that we have, that, you know, it's rough to do because you're asking somebody, you have to remember, we're going to add a CTE building with 5 very interesting classrooms that have lots of stuff that need to be cleaned and upkept. We have a pool that we're adding that's going to take a significant amount of time for our head custodian likely, who's going to be trained to be the pool person, and another person as a backup. The pool itself is going to take a lot of time. And so we're going to have a severe need to hire just additional staff just to cover the high school needs, in addition to rec leagues coming in and using our fields. Again, I don't have anything against that, but as a site manager, I would say to you, and have been saying, and Jimmy and Alvina know, we need more people. That, you know, the day-to-day seems like, oh, well, you have enough to clean the rooms. Yeah, just barely. But if we want to protect the investment that we've made in our schools and in our community, there is additional staffing that is needed in order to make sure that it's a benefit to us all, and it continues to be a benefit to us all. Otherwise, you run into overuse of your facilities. You know, fields are living things, and if they're trampled on significant amount of time, you know, they become harder and more packed and not as safe for our students, which is what it was initially built for. And so it just really means that if we start offering use of those fields, that we need to be very strategic about how we pre-plan out the next several years and what kind of maintenance happens at this time of year, and it happens every year, and we don't supplant that funding for any other reason. Otherwise, health and safety of students and community members who may be out there using the fields are going to be at stake. And the facility won't be able to be used in the way that it should.
I mean, judging from the finance report, it seems like we do put the money aside to pay for the upkeep and the maintenance. I mean, I guess really the bottom line question then becomes how much money will it cost to rent it, and how much of that money would, I mean, you would need, say, what, 2 hours to drag the field or something? I don't know. You said it just takes a while. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have to pay someone to do that, you know, and you want to pay someone additional,
Well,
just
the
wear and
first
tear
question
sort of
I
on
would
it.
ask
So I mean,
is, and this is just me, as far as dragging a dirt field, it's time consuming, but it's not complicated. Couldn't we make part of a rental agreement be that if they're going to use the softball field, they drag the field, and if they don't, there's a fee for not dragging the field?
So, I mean, sorry. I don't wanna interrupt
go
you.
ahead.
I mean, from my perspective, I mentioned last time meeting, I've never had a varsity softball or baseball field that's been allowed for public use, ever. They've been locked down. The goal this year, as Ben mentioned, was to do the same thing to the softball. I know it's a JV field technically on paper, but it's a softball field. Let's just be honest about it. To use the fencing on the south side of the campus that they're taking down when they put the block wall up, repurpose that and seal off the softball field as well. So I am not of the opinion that we should open it to the general public. I think that something of the nature like we did last time as a special permit type thing for Mr. Gatehouse, who was running basically essentially a fall program for the high school team on the baseball field, that may be more in order than just opening it wide open. That's my personal opinion. So,
and along those lines, maybe looking at, you know, maybe if there is a once-a-year tournament that they want to do on it, but like daily practice and
yeah,
that's
I mean,
heavy.
that's a good point. I mean, a tournament would be
It's something that would come to the facilities use committee to be like, look, we're going to do this once a year or twice a year thing. Can we use it for this one specific purpose?
I'm just not of the opinion that the people are going to drag the field the way they're supposed to and take care of it. And I do not want the facilities to decline anymore, or you know, at all. I want them to look nice.
Yeah.
Varsity fields should be pristine, in my opinion, and should be there for our students to use and get that home field advantage when other teams come and, you know, to our facility. And so I'm not of the opinion that we wide open for everybody. It's probably not a popular opinion, but that's my personal opinion.
Well, I think that the other thing that board members need to be aware of, and since there's 2 board members sitting on this committee, and district administration needs to remember that the moment you start using volunteer labor to supplant the work of bargain union members,
Have fun.
then the union has a problem with that.
Will be the first time.
I mean, it's currently something that unit members do If it was something unit members haven't done before, for example, our grounds, we've never had like a groundskeeper, right? Like just for grounds. And so we've contracted a company to do that, and that's just how it's been. But when you have past practice of unit members doing work and then going, now we're going to take that work away from a unit member and supplant it by having volunteers do it, is when you have.
I don't think we have.
On a regular basis. If it's a couple of
field right now,
times
right?
every now and then, it's one thing, but if it's every time.
I thought the fields were part of the landscape contract.
Not the
Not the field
infield.
prep.
Yeah, and
Oh, so it's just the
yeah.
grass. See, I thought
It's
I
just
thought
the gardening of
whole-
it.
I thought the whole
No,
field.
no, Larry and Ruben, if there's a game, Larry and Ruben go out there and
okay.
prep the field.
Yeah, because
So-
you're right. That would be. I thought it was the landscapers.
No,
Okay.
they take care of the grass.
Oh,
That's it.
I didn't know.
But it's the
Stucco stuff.
infield, the grooming, and all
That's
that
why
kind
I
of
thought about that
stuff.
because I'm like,
You know.
if it's just contract.
Otherwise, we'd have to call contractors in that would be expensive every time to prep a game. That would.
Well, I don't know if they come out once a week or something. I don't know what the deal is. Or again, this is how old I am. Back when I played, the players dragged the field. That's what
me
you
too.
did. You grab your chain link fence.
At the
and
end of practice,
haul it- yeah.
I mean,
you
I coach.
dragged your own field.
Yeah.
I coach softball,
what
right?
you
I
do.
coach 14U travel softball. We can't get on the high schools in my area. We have to go to the park. But at the end of practice, we have the kids drag the field, conditioning.
Absolutely.
Drag the field. But I mean, I would not open it wide open for the general public. That's my opinion. So, like I said, I coach softball. I'm very sympathetic to softball. I've had $3 to play softball. So I still would not recommend doing it. So.
I just have a comment. I want to echo something that Principal Faubert said, because I don't think it can be overstated. We need to maintain our facilities for our students in the best possible condition that we can. And I'm all for opening them up within reason to outside uses, but our first and foremost concern has to be the use of our students.
I don't disagree.
Hold on a second, Patrick. Sorry. So, I mean, you keep saying to the general public. I just want to be clear. You're actually just saying you don't want to open it for open reservations. When you say general public to me, I think you're talking about like not locking the gate and people can just go play on it. We're not trying to do that, right? We're talking specifically about reservations not being allowed to the general public.
I think he means like not for a regular team that's going to practice on it 3 nights a week.
In
have games
reservations,
on it every
right?
Saturday.
So, but you would be willing to do it for, and in fact, we did it for the high school team effectively, right? Because it's like a farm thing. I'm relatively sure that Patrick's going to come on here in a second and say that in some ways his softball team is effectively our feeder system / our farm team for the high school softball team. So does that not warrant some sort of additional consideration as far as if we vet the program, we vet the people that are doing the program, for example? Because ultimately, the kids that grow up playing in his
I hear what
softball
you're
league
saying.
would
They
become
feed into
our
high
high
school.
school softball team.
Absolutely.
It's
I
our
agree.
feeder league for softball.
And I think it would be the same thing with Little League and a lot of other
Football
things.
and the Junior
But we have
Mustangs
to-
and everything else.
We have to limit these things somehow, or the facilities become overrun.
Well, but we would be limiting anyway by saying, as Jimmy mentioned, they don't allow the varsity. He's never been somewhere they allowed the varsity field to be used, for example. And 5 seconds ago, we actually just called the softball field the JV field. So we could very easily get around that and only allow one of the fields.
Except that it's the varsity softball field.
We are in the unfortunate position of having one baseball field and one softball field, and the majority of schools
Have two
that we
each.
would compare to have 2 each. A JV freshman field for baseball and a varsity field that no one ever goes on, and a JV varsity or JV freshman softball field that people get to use, and a varsity field that no one ever goes on. We don't have that. So that's kind of the dynamic we're facing is we had a small plant, go ahead, Ben. Yeah, we have a small plant, we have a small lot. We
Thank
couldn't
you, Ben.
build a lot of folks asked why we don't have. If you actually look at the size of the high school and the land we received as part of the designation from the developer and compare it to most high schools, you will find there's a reason we have 2-story buildings because we got a smaller piece. That we only have one field for baseball and one for softball because we got a smaller land and there's not enough space to do it. First, and I wanted to say this while Ben was here, but it's not that no one's opinion matters. Ben has an absolute right to say what he needed to say and you to say what you needed to say. We just have an obligation to try to hear everybody's views. And Patrick, I'm going to let you talk in
absolutely.
a second. And and make a decision. The good part is only 2 of us on here have to worry about what everybody else thinks. Pretty soon,
I'm not very big,
one of
so I
you,
gotta.
right?
maybe none of us. Who knows? Pretty soon, maybe 2 of us, maybe 1 of us, maybe none of us. It could just be a whole new 5 people.
Okay, so go ahead.
But I want to make sure. So Patrick, you can go ahead, Corey, and then let Patrick speak.
I just want to go back to maintenance and the whatnot. I'm obviously not as well versed in fields or maintenance as you are, but we're effectively talking about a plot of dirt and a plot of grass, right, for softball. How much is the maintenance on that typically if we were to charge a fee, for example, to refresh the field every 6 months or a year or whatever? Like, do we have any sort of idea how much that amount of money would cost? I'm just not sure how much it costs to upkeep dirt. I assume it's more complicated than
Just for
upkeeping
mowing the
dirt.
field and stuff.
No, he's I think he's really the expense. I don't think is the
I don't think it's
the
the,
clay.
it's not the expense in my opinion. It's not the amount of money. I just want to keep the facility as nice as possible for our team.
Sure.
So, and I think the more you open it up, the more the condition is going to get worse. So that's why I said, I recommend by special permit or whatever you want to call it, like we did last time. Someone has to come here and
Just sparingly, basically.
yeah. So that's what I would recommend. Right now we're going to increase the grounds at the high school. Right now it's $2,800 a month for the high school. That's the whole high school. It's not just for the fields. So
But if we needed to replace the clay, for example, how much does the clay cost on the softball field? Do you have
And
an
would we
idea?
do that at the start of varsity softball season anyway? I guess is probably my
Oh,
additional
even the
question
dirt
to
stuff?
Shane's.
oh yeah, thousands of dollars, get yards of dirt out there for the infield mix and stuff. Yeah.
A couple $1,000s basically
Yeah.
to refresh it
Yeah.
effectively. If you do that, it's not as good as new, but it's good again. Is that
We would do it when we do it.
no? I'm just saying if you do it and you get out new dirt and all that, and the cost is a couple grand. How, like, let's say the field starts at a 10, right? And then you play on it and it gets down to like a 5, and then you get new dirt. What level would the field then be back at?
I don't think I understand the question.
So in other
Am I
words, what does
making
it
a-
take to get it back to that pristine?
Like if your condition level starts at 10.
What does it take?
Well, yeah, I'm just asking, like,
Cost.
how hard
He's
is it?
trying to
How
figure
hard
out
is it to put a field back to an immaculate condition? I guess is really what I'm asking. 'Cause I understand the concern, and we want to keep it in immaculate condition. But softball, varsity softball, in this case, is really what we're talking about. They only play for a certain period of time. So if other groups or another group used the field during the time in which varsity softball is not playing, and their fees went towards paying to refresh that field the week before
dirt
varsity
mix on and
softball
stuff like
starts,
that?
basically, would the field then be back up to the snuff that it had been had they not played at all?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah.
'Cause I mean, really, really the question then becomes one of cost. If we want to talk about how much that would cost and whether or not the team or group that wants to rent the facility for that time is willing to pay that much of a cost to effectively put the field back to how it was when they got it at the end of their usage. Right. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about, right?
That's a part of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Part of it. And then the question goes, who's going to do the work? Who's going to get it back to that condition?
Well, I assume there are people you can pay to do that.
So, I
But
mean,
that would be part of the cost, though.
It's part of the
That would be part of the
problem is
cost.
Part of the problem, yeah.
That's,
who's
that's
gonna bring it back up to
something
the
we
level
don't have built
want?
into the schedule right now because we don't have, right now, we don't have the additional staff to be able to add additional duties.
Would that have to be our
would
staff?
an additional duty, absolutely.
You know, there's not
Because
like
it's a union employee. It'd have to be a union
How is there
employee.
not just like people you pay to come redo your field?
Because it's,
God, unions are the
because once
worst.
again, California.
I'm here to help.
I want to.
I'm kidding. I love unions.
I was going to say, is that on camera? Because someone might want to retract that statement real quick. There's a little thing on the 8th that you might have to worry about there.
I love unions.
And I would
Also, I love
suggest
Erica.
that the couple $1,000s for the clay mix would be a small fraction of what it would cost to redo the infield, because the labor would undoubtedly be many, many times what the materials cost for such an undertaking.
So, Patrick, how are you?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Thank you for coming and being patient. We've, like I say, I like to talk. So, go ahead. It's your turn.
I live with 3 young ladies and a wonderful wife. I'm rather used to waiting my turn to get a word in edgewise.
I know that.
This is not being taped, right?
Yes,
And
it is.
broadcast live.
Well, they didn't catch my
Just has
mouthing that
this.
Like 7
expletive.
people.
So,
totally
I don't
see
know
that.
if you're on camera. You'll be all right.
So, thank you for letting me have a chance to speak here. I know most of you know this. We started Mountain House Girls Softball 3 seasons ago, 2 years ago. In 2014 is our 3rd season. It's a fall league, rec level, 7 to 14 years old. When we started it, it was simply an opportunity to go out and give girls something else to do in the fall. We didn't have very many the first year, and now we've grown quite a bit. We're at a crossroads point, to be perfectly honest, and the league are planning contingencies around how we want to go and where we want to go. And before I go into that, and you'll have to help me, because I could probably talk here for 45 minutes and another hour, and I know that that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So just as a matter of idea, just to throw out some ideas to you, the schools in Tracy do rent their softball fields in the fall, and I'll explain what that is for. But they do rent their fields in the fall, and they typically will charge TUSD charges $5.50 an hour. There are some schools that charge a custodian fee, which is basically open and close the gates, when that becomes extremely pricey. There are security deposits of $500, and some of this varies by school. Some of it is TUSD policy, $500 security deposit, and some of them charge an administration fee, which is, I think, $100, if I'm not mistaken. And then there are even some that will charge an additional facility use fee outside of the hourly rental that they charge for that, in an effort to recover costs, deal with some of the contingencies you spoke of regarding indoor facilities. So there is some precedent out there. If the committee would like, I would be happy to gather more information and present a more formal report about what other schools are doing, in an effort to give you, a broader context to make whatever decision you need to make.
Question, are those fields that you're talking about varsity high school fields, or are those practice fields and fields at the K-8s and those sorts of things?
Yes. Yes. To give you an example of a relative comparison,
Yeah, which yes, because it was
Yes.
yes to K-8?
Yes to
and
K-8,
JV,
yes
or
to high
yes
school.
varsity
yes to
fields?
everything.
So they rent out their varsity softball and baseball
Yes.
fields in Tracy?
They do, and the reason why they do that, and I think in TUSD, Kimball, well, I should be careful. Of the people that I was able to get information from, Kimball was the most open, and part of that is because I know one of the coaches over there who's actually coaching with my team this fall. And at Kimball, in the springtime, they have a freshman team, a JV team, and a varsity team. And they have travel ball programs set up around those rosters, if you want to use that term, for summer and fall, for the explicit purpose of conditioning and prepping into the spring. The thing that's unique about some of those programs, though, are they're privately run. They're not through the school themselves. So, for example, you may have a fall travel ball team for the freshmen or the JV squad, but if there's a coach there from the school, they're there on their own time. Of course, travel ball being, most of them being nonprofits. So again, I think it might be a little, if I were you, I wouldn't jump ship onto an idea based on what I'm saying. I would say, Patrick Martins, if you think you have time, gather some information and give us something. Now, of course, I'm going to give you the best side of it, but it's more information than you have in front of you right now, and I'd be happy to do that. What my ambitions for Mountain House Girls Softball are to truly turn it into a feeder program. And I know I know you talked about that the facilities should be exclusively for the use of the students. Or that was one sentiment that was.
I never said exclusively for the use of the
sorry.
students. What I said was, we need to service our students
Service our
first
students,
and
right,
foremost.
right.
And I'm all for opening up for other uses, but not at the expense of our students.
Of course, and so in this regard, I could easily see taking Mountain House Girls Softball, and actually, this is my ambition, is to extend it further than the age limit that it has right now, specifically to be a feeder program. Now, just on the mechanics of that, mechanics alone, we are already working with CSD to pull back the grass in Wickland Park and turn that into a true softball field.
That was
And
gonna
then
be my
also,
first question is, why is that not already a softball field? I mean, the CSD should have done that for you guys a long time ago, but.
it's a sensitive question, Director Nielsen, and I won't speak for CSD, but I can just mention that they have their own permit process, environmental impact reports, all of those things. And from my perspective, my job as commissioner of MHGS, Mountain House Girls Softball, is to try to build and sustain momentum for the program. And then hopefully that momentum creates incentive that we all work together. And to be honest, CSD are already letting us work with them on that. It's going to take some time because one of the problems they have over at Wickland Park, for example, are where the sprinklers are located. So if you want to reset that outfield, potentially you have to cap off or dig out some of the existing water lines for the sprinklers. Not impossible. Unfortunately, it takes somebody, for better or worse, like myself or like Reno, to stand up and say, I want this, I'm willing to put in the time and the labor. How can we make this happen? And just on the point of repairing the field, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but CSD recently did that both for Central Park and for Wickland Park. They brought in a ton of dirt. So I with one phone call, I can call Doug or an email.
Well, like you said, it's not the dirt necessarily that's the major cause, it's the labor. But so I would ask, I think a bigger issue for me right now.
Director Nielsen, if I may, and the other thing that we see with the softball fields, and what Tracy Express talk about, are the pits that are dug in at the pitcher's mound and home plate. And that's not simply just bringing in more clay, because the clay is designed to be loose and moves around. I should say clay. You have to get a different type of dirt, actually dirt that's more clay-like, like the hard clay in the East Bay, for example, to actually be densely packed and form that. So, Jimmy's right, these things are not free. The problem with doing some of that labor at CSD, of course, is not that they're concerned about taking jobs away from unions, which, as a Republican, I support that. I do. I'll go day and night with you over the erosion of the manufacturing base in California and our tax base. The problem that they have is the liability, potential liability associated with volunteer labor. And there are ways around that, and I know that because the
But that doesn't, I'd like to try to keep us focused on what we
Oh,
can
I'm
do.
sorry.
So here's my question. What level of usage are you looking for?
Short term, in terms of just looking at next season, and I should.
You're talking next,
I was just going to delineate that. One of the things.
you're talking spring?
Fall.
That's what I'm saying. We're talking next fall. We're talking basically
Year out.
10 months from
Or
now,
10 months out.
right?
You don't run a spring program?
No.
No, this is all about off-season usage.
Because to be
Because
perfectly honest.
it's a rec team and it's not a.
What?
To be perfectly honest, we don't have, we MHLL, Mountain House Little League, have a huge program.
They have all the fields.
Those guys are
Girls too?
Yeah.
Well, it's a co-ed
It's a
little
co-ed
league.
league?
So they have basically all the fields.
And then
It's
when the
co-ed up to like age, like 10
Well, as
and
far as
10
I
and
know,
above?
it's
10?
co-ed. Any girls could play if they chose to play.
It's co-ed, but but if you look at
It's not very co-ed once you get past about 10.
I was going to say the demographics of co-ed youth sports, which I studied quite a bit when making my proposal to CSD 2 years ago, talk about drop-off in enrollments. And even now, MHLL got squeezed this last spring because, of course, the JV team took over Bethany.
That's right.
So I know Trevor wanted to be here. He couldn't. Trevor Ming wanted to be here, but he couldn't tonight. But I just want to make sure that with respect to what softball wants, we're simply talking about the fall of next year. Now, if you ask me,
What
Martin,
level of usage? Hours, days?
if you ask me, Martins, what are your bigger ambitions? Well, my
No.
kids are-
What are your bigger ambitions? What do you want to use it this fall?
That's what I'm looking at.
No.
Let's see if we can.
I'm trying to place it in the
let's start
context
there.
of building a feeder program. But in terms of what we're looking at for next fall,
We've said
we
don't even
run
have
a
the ability to use
15-week
those
program nominally, and we're very much gated by daylight savings. We can't do anything after that. So we're talking about a 15-week program, Monday through Friday, 2 hours for practices, and then Saturdays. And this is my Christmas wish list, right? This is, you say, what do you want? This is everything I want. And then Saturdays, 6 hours of usage, anywhere from 4 to 6 hours of usage. And that would only be for our uppers division. This year, we only had 4 teams. And we would nominally like to overlap with the other properties within Mountain House. But you can imagine that when you're practicing like we are on grass infields, and then you go and play your game on a Saturday on a dirt infield. It's a bit of a shock, which is why we're trying to get CSD to convert
At least they
Woodland
knocked
over.
the hill down for you, so you're not trying to pitch off a mound anymore.
Actually, we're very fortunate. Climate change is doing that on our behalf already.
I'm saying,
I mean, but to be honest, if you talk to Trevor, he'll tell you that that's what they want. They want to have a completely dirt flat infield because then they can take their mound out.
Right.
And now they can,
Normal mound.
and if you give them a 70, right now it's 60-foot base path. If you give them a 70-foot base path, now they can do their 50-70 as well as the other divisions. All they got to do is roll their temporary mounds back and forth.
it's not like it used
As
to.
far as the concern about the storage at the high school.
Hold on, let's,
Sorry.
So, hold on a second. I mean,
Told you, I can
I'm
talk all
not,
night. You gotta.
no, yeah, but that's why we're trying to slow you down
So
here, so.
you're talking about a 15-week period ending around the first week of November.
Yes, sir. And I say it's approximate because we face a challenge with the Fall League, which is the earlier we start, the more difficult it is to actually, you start a league in, July 10, people are on summer vacation.
Sure. So,
What age are these kids?
so
Sorry,
I'm
go ahead.
not a, I've done this in other districts, okay? I'm not opposed to adding fields or creating a field that could be more conducive to softball, i.e. skinning the grass, at any of our other schools, if that makes sense as a district,
Yeah, sure.
whatever the field is, we decide will be a good one. We just did the field at Bethany right when I got here, made that the baseball field, right? It's all skinned in the infield. I mean, something like that at Cuesta or wherever else it made sense to do it. I'm not opposed to doing that at all. I'm more than willing to work with your organization or any other softball organization in town to do that kind of stuff. Quite frankly, I love doing that kind of stuff. That's the fun part of my job.
Quite frankly.
Avina yelling at me all day is not from,
Quite honestly.
So, I mean, I'm not, if there's a need for more fields, which sounds like there is, I would be willing to meet with you and work that out. And I guess I'm just drawing a line at the high school field. So, if we could figure out something else that makes sense, somewhere else in the district, that's totally doable
is
from
there
my
a
point of view.
reason?
I mean, I think it sounds like, it's from the discussion earlier, it just sounds like you don't want there to be a lot of usage on the field, which I might get. And certainly 15 weeks of 6 days a week is what I would term a lot of usage.
It's a season.
Right. I'm just saying it's what I would term to be a lot of usage. That's all.
Yeah, oh, yeah, sure.
Like you said, that's a Christmas wish list, and then Jimmy's willing to work to get so that you have softball fields to practice on, in the elementaries. What about like a hybrid where maybe you play the Saturday games at the high school field, but you actually do the practicing on the elementary fields, for example?
Same thing.
Something along those lines is probably closer to what we're willing to recommend, I think, than, effectively 70 or 80, 90 days of actual play.
Of usage.
I mean, that makes a difference, right, Jimmy? I mean,
Yeah, I see what you're
every
saying.
Saturday versus Monday through Friday and Saturday.
30 hours a week versus, 8 on a
6,
Saturday or
whatever, yeah.
something like that.
It's not even 30 hours a week, it'd be 6 hours a week.
Well, whatever it is.
Right?
I mean,
For the one
yeah.
Saturday, you're basically looking at 30 hours a month
Monday,
versus
Monday
30
through Friday
hours a
practice,
week.
however many hours are out there. how
mean,
many kids are
16
out there.
versus
I'm
10,
looking
basically.
at Altamont. Have you tried that softball field? I'm asking a question. Well, let's go back to what Jimmy was talking about. Would it be something we could find a way to find the finances to be able to fix that field and make it usable?
So to be perfectly honest, I applaud the creativity of Jimmy and Corey because I had never given that any thought, the idea of using Bethany, of course.
Well, I
got-
don't think we
got to
use
level
Bethany
the
because
mounds.
it's a JV field.
Anything.
Any property, because to be honest, the only reason I was initially advocating for the high school field was because it's the only true softball field and it has
That's-
the base paths.
What I'm getting at.
Yeah.
If we can make a field or two, whatever you guys think you need at.
Have you
different
practiced
schools.
on the Altamont field?
If I may be real honest with you, I'll take Bethany 2 times over the high school, not because I don't want to do the high school, but logistically, it's easier for me to rent a porta potty. Or is there a better word for that? That sounds.
No,
so
porta
dry.
potty. That's the formal word.
Okay, to rent a porta potty, it's easier to do that over there, right? And also, we can do like we've done at the 2 CSD properties and buy our own green box, which is where we store our bases and our
lockbox.
chalk. So if that's, I mean, that's a perfect compromise. And to be honest, as beautiful as the high school field is, as much as that would bring a lot of oomph to what we're doing, we don't need that. We need an all-dirt field with 60-foot base paths that is the high school dimensions. It has to be the high school
Sure.
dimensions.
60-foot bases, 43-foot mound, the whole thing.
Now we're talking.
But what about, have you tried Altamont too? Because what I'm worried about now is, we're right now using Bethany as the JV field. And do we have a portable mound that they use for the JV field?
No, there's actually a mound on there.
See, so that's why, so then if we have to, then we're competing against, there's also a field at Altamont, and again, I don't know what that looks like, I've never practiced on it, is it the dimensions right, could it be made right?
You'd have to, so
I'll have to go out and measure, I don't know.
I can tell you right now, if it's the money to deck that anthill that's at Bethany and buy a portable one, I'm pretty sure that between Trevor and myself, we could raise the funds to do that. Those are a couple $1,000s,
For the portable mound?
portable mound, yeah.
I'm confused what Worker's just recently done to Bethany.
They made
Nothing-
it the
no-
JV baseball.
What does that mean?
The JV baseball team take over Bethany's field in the springtime.
Does that change?
Bethany
the-
Field has an all-dirt infield.
Right.
Which could be used for softball.
But they had a mound.
The base paths and the mound.
There's a
are not-
mound.
Oh, you added a mound. That's basically
Yes.
the difference.
A pitcher's mound for baseball, 60 feet out, 66.
The base paths and all that stuff are still the same.
Well, even the base paths themselves are not
Yes, they're
obstacles
adjustable?
because you put a stake in.
Put a
well,
peg in the ground.
Peg in the ground,
Okay,
and you
so
can
it's not
reset,
really
you can actually set different like, a lot of the sports
It's
complexes.
really, the only issue that I could foresee having is really the mound. Because the all dirt infield, non all dirt infield,
At Bethany, yes. At Altamont, the problem that you have is, for practice purposes, we love it. But for game day purposes, they have drainage problems over there.
well, but my point being, I don't know, I can't say for sure, I don't think they're using Bethany as the JV game field, right? It's just a practice field.
No, they're using
They
it.
were
Is it
playing-
really the game
They were
field?
playing
Yes.
games there, yeah.
We've seen
I
out,
didn't know that
Be-
either.
Because the varsity and JV are playing at the same time, because we don't have lights
Yeah.
at the high school.
Right.
So you can't play one and then the other.
Yeah, because I had to put signs up about foul balls and parked cars.
And I saw that, I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
why, I thought
Well,
it was
yeah,
just a
that's why.
practice, I swear, I just thought it was.
What I would like to recommend is
Yeah.
that Jimmy and Mr. Martins and Trevor Maines, if wants to be involved, try to work out a solution to this issue and bring it back. If it's something that we need to work on as a committee, bring back a recommendation.
Yeah.
And
I'd be happy to meet with you. I don't,
yeah, let's
quite
do it.
frankly, I'm on the board of the local softball team where I live, and I'm willing to work with you. I don't understand why you only want a fall program, not a spring program, but you can explain the nuances of that to me.
It's actually-
when
it's
we
ac-
meet. But if you're trying to build a program, spring's where it's at, fall's during afterthought. But I'm willing to meet with you and talk, and
it's a
and
field.
we could look at the maps and brainstorm.
But the whole idea is if we turn
What
this into a
fields might
softball
work.
field, then, if it's not being used but the problem is if it's being used by the JV team, we can't make it a softball field in the spring. And if it's a JV field in the spring, it can't be a softball field unless we have the portable mound. And don't know if that's something the
I
JV
mean,
coach would want to deal with.
theoretically, we could take the mound out and re-put it back in, but I believe you're talking about.
That's
is-
expensive, right?
Actually, if you talk to Trevor, and I'll.
Well, let me,
You're
you
talk-
guys,
you
I'll
will
just say
figure it
that, the
out.
logistics of it, if you guys work it out.
Yeah,
I was
we
gonna say
could-
that,
yeah.
that's actually the trend in sports complexes now, is that they have portable mounds specifically for the purpose.
That they roll out. I don't know if I'd have to.
And that's what I'm saying.
I'd
You
have to
guys,
speak to
if
the
you
high
guys
school
can work
coach
it
and
out.
see.
I want to, my daughters don't play softball. I tried to talk Jenna into playing softball. I really,
She's a great
really-
soccer player.
she-
Why would you distract her from that?
No, but now all she wants to do is play volleyball. She just loves sports. Yeah, no, she's all into volleyball. I want to encourage girls' sports as much as
I saw
possible.
your daughter
And this
3
is-
years ago, and I thought that was a national star right there in
Yeah, no,
soccer.
and now it's volleyball. Now it's volleyball and soccer. And I really tried for softball, but that's
I
exactly
tried
what it
to
is.
talk someone in the audience into playing softball, and she wasn't interested.
Puts her hoodie up.
I need to put you folks on my board. I need powerful people with persuasive skills
Powerful.
such as
You're looking at
yours.
the wrong names.
Well, I hear Shane's gonna have free time pretty soon, so.
Yeah, Shane's gonna have a lot of free time pretty soon.
One more word on Altamont, Director Nielsen, is that.
Shane,
Oh, sorry.
it's okay.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to observe formality.
Not at this one.
One more word on Altamont is that you'd have to, the same issue that we're facing with CSD in Wickland, which is you'd have to appreciably dig out the grass back there, reset the base paths. And again, you come into questions like that. To be honest, my perspective, I know CSD, they know me, I have a relationship with them, so it's.
Sorry.
So in that respect, it's easier to work with them and provide that as opposed to, I don't know all the in and outs of working with LUSD. I'm learning it. I'd be happy to, but
Well, Jimmy's your guy on this, and I would just say this though, Jimmy, I would like to know, do you think there's anything we could do at Altamont? I mean, it's, because I'm also thinking if we start to build a softball program, we might need a JV softball field,
Sure.
like we have a
Yeah.
JV
I
baseball
mean, I'm
field at one of the
thinking
sites,
maybe-
too.
oh yes, which is another issue which probably not for this meeting, but I can tell you right now, there is momentum in this town for that type of a program. If you don't have something like that, if you don't have something like I'm proposing, you're reliant on rec level leagues as feeder systems,
Yeah, it's-
which will keep our high school program at a permanent deficiency or talent
If you
gap.
want to see the benefit to having a good lower level, by that I mean younger age level sports programs, look at what our basketball team did last year.
Exactly.
Our basketball teams were far more competitive because they've been having these feeder programs for years and years and years. Our football program is building. It's an absolute benefit. It's really just a matter of space. So if we can find out if those two fields can be transitioned and there's a way to do it that accommodates JV of both sports,
Absolutely.
I would love to see.
You're actually, you don't know this, but you're already losing talent to other
I know
other
we
schools.
are. No, I know we are. We are.
This is not the place, I mean, I say this without trying to be, without trying to be impolite, but anyway, that's not important.
They go to Tracy. They go to Stockton. I know they do. They go to Livermore. I know they do. We lose girls to the Smoke softball team. I know you lose them to them all the time. They're a very well-known, highly competitive team. It's happening in all of our sports. But I will say this, that's one of the reasons we are focusing on trying to build the programs we are at the high school. We're getting quality coaches in some of these divisions, in volleyball, in soccer, and basketball, and football. We're getting better and better coaches in these positions because we recognize the value of improving those programs. It keeps the kids here too. That's what we
Exactly.
want.
And I
So,
believe right now, the high school does not have a varsity softball coach, am I correct?
we just hired a ton of coaches, and I don't remember if softball was on it.
I know as of last month.
I mean, we just hired like 20. And I don't remember if
Yeah, I'm
softball
not
was
sure.
on it. So. But anyway, so you guys meet, talk about it. If it's something we need to deal with, great. If it's something that just needs to go to the main board because it's approving expenditures and everything else, because that's really what it is. We can't spend money. We can charge money, but we can't spend it unless we charge it to spend it. See what I'm saying? So we can't authorize, for example, to tell Jimmy, go spend 20 grand to refurb a field. The full board would have to do that.
That said,
Can't authorize that.
No.
that said, Shane.
I would love it if we could, because I'd be writing checks. I really would. I'd be writing checks. So
That said, Shane, the idea of converting one of the other fields is a wonderful idea. I'm all up on that.
Good.
It doesn't change that at some point you.
I don't disagree, but I would, but the idea would, for me, would be if you've got, I like what Corey was talking about, if you've got practices and then Saturday games, or maybe it's just the 12 and overs playing at the high school, something like that, where we can work something out and find something. And really, I'd like to try to find something that allows us, like we did with a lot of other sports, let's try it for a season and see what happens. What is the outcome? What is the damage? What is the fallout? And does it make sense for next year? That's really what I'd like to try to do. The good news is we have 10 months to figure it out, sort of. But, 10 months to ostensibly have a whole plan and then come back a year from now and try to figure out how it went. And that's what I'm hopeful for. If this were something we needed to get done by February, March, we'd be in trouble. But at least we do have.
I'll be honest with you. I would love to have a spring league out here, but the problem is that it's the field, just the lack of fields.
Yep.
And also, we're competing against an organization 25 years with standing and reputation in the community. We'd be trying to draw players over here, and the talent drought in a spring softball league would be even more significant than it is in the fall.
I agree.
So,
Okay. So,
Jimmy, I apologize. I don't have your information.
Rita can get it to you.
Okay. And Rita, I'm in the system. You sent me the email.
okay. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. And hopefully we
How
hear
much
good
of your
news.
time did you let me suck up tonight?
Anyway, we knew it was going to be a long night. Future use application conflicts and
Thank you.
concerns.
We kind of already addressed this when we discussed the denied application
All righty.
and having a conversation with some of the sites about the amount of time.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, and I will be sending an email to the superintendent about requesting that staff be reminded of the no blanket applications. It just, you don't black out dates, We're not an airline. Reminder applications for field use window.
I just wanted to make it known that in the facility use handbook, December 1st through December 15th is the field use application window. And I think we actually received a written one.
Outdoor fields, right? Yes.
Outdoor fields.
I let the individual, I believe, who
Yes.
spoke with you know that's coming up, relax.
Yes, so we just
I
wanted to
believe they now know.
remind and announce it that we have that. And I thought it actually probably isn't a bad idea to occasionally draw out some of the things that are in the handbook to remind people.
Yep.
I have the dates and I'll put them in.
Okay, just they're pending till, yes.
School site maps on civic permit website. See now, Corey, we get to
now
go to the
we're on the
maps.
maps.
Are you excited? So yeah, because I mean, if that's really just a drainage issue and that kind of stuff at Altamont, we need to fix that anyway. So if
Right,
there's,
yeah.
drainage
that-
issues or something, but if we can turn those two fields into practice fields and then one can become a JV softball field.
Absolutely.
Where are the drainage issues at Altamont?
If I had to
The first
guess.
I've heard about, he said that.
It's well, I'm gonna guess it's not us, because everywhere, when the CSD side mixes with our side, the CSD side tends to have some water flow issues.
I don't know if
I'm
he's talking
gonna
about the
guess-
outfield or the infield. If
I'm
it's
guessing it's
infield,
right
it may
along
not-
the street.
It may not be crowned, properly, but,
I think I remember
I don't have any
the
complaints.
last big rain, something
I'm
in the
looking-
parking
if you
lot
look at
area.
This right here, this tells me this brown area that's
softball
all
area?
along the street there, that there's potentially issues there. But,
Okay.
we can look at it, and again, if we find there aren't issues, there aren't issues, that's
So
great. But I
does
would-
the Altamont map
Yep.
look, because we would like to upload these
Well, I
maps
don't really
once
want to
we
call
get
it soccer field, because it's also a football field, so you can
Yes.
call it just field.
field.
So the reason we
Okay.
said soccer field is because there's no goalposts
That's right.
for
Good
field
point,
goals.
good point, okay.
So,
Okay.
what we found in the system that things are labeled several times, like the soccer field would also be a football
Football field,
field, and would
yeah.
also. So when you look at Altamont, you may think you have 12 places to rent when you really don't.
Okay.
For example,
Quad area in Altamont also?
Is what?
Is there a quad area at Altamont? Is that what's right in the middle there?
Yeah, well,
it's a quad and
it's
all.
more of a rhombus than a quad,
So we'll add quad.
Trapezoid.
These are the maps
Add
effectively
quad.
that'll be
Trapezoid.
on.
She, where did you get these maps? And then she added the red boxes.
Are we gonna
Maps.
try to put something
Google
like this on the,
the applications
Yes.
website.
That's what we plan to do.
okay,
That's
so yeah, so
where-
we're gonna add quad to these then.
Yes, once we
effectively.
identify what we need to change, delete, add, we'll upload these.
Can I make a suggestion
Yes.
that we, in addition to naming these fields, we number them? Maybe A1, A2, A3 for Altamont.
That's a good idea for
and
Altamont one.
So
Okay.
that it might make it easier for people to specify what they're wanting if there was a number
That sounds good.
system to them.
are you talking about if there's like two grass fields or just everything A1,
Just
A2?
everything.
Okay.
So yeah, so this field would be like A1 through A7 basically.
Right now, how they're labeled is when you go to Altamont, it will be showing as Altamont AES soccer field, AES parking lot, AES multipurpose room.
Right,
So they
something,
would have-
something along those lines.
Does anyone ever actually rent the small grass field?
At Altamont, I doubt it. I don't know what you could do
My
there.
understanding was that they play practice soccer, they're little kids, but I could be wrong.
Okay, cool. I could buy that.
And then Bethany.
Bethany. Is this the new baseball field that we put in there?
It is.
Okay.
Presumably we want to add quad and parking lot to this, right?
Yes, let's see here. The quad is that middle section.
Yeah, the whole thing, that building's just sort of in the middle of the quad, I think, right?
Shade structure.
Quad and parking lot.
Zoom.
Oh, yeah, that's the shade structure, right.
It's like I'm having trouble figuring where oh, this is the entrance. You're right, here it is, it's here.
That's where the
Quad.
lunch tables are.
And then parking lot.
Quad and parking lot.
Is this really how bad Lammersville's fields look?
Yes.
Anything in the world we can do about that?
What?
Lammersville.
Lammersville's fields, they're so dull. They need
No, there's no
like
green.
grass.
This is not a current picture. This
That's
is
why I
This is
asked.
not from yesterday.
Oh, is this, are we still on Bethany?
Take some
Hey, look, no, we
pictures.
skipped to Lammersville because I love the swirlies. Like, how did we
making
get?
my-
how
Wondering
did we
what
get
that was
swirly?
about, yeah.
That's where the water comes.
I'm guessing that's where
It's
the
not
sprinklers
spraying
are.
this way. It's just spraying in a circle.
And it
Are we
misses
sure that's
the
a softball
entire
field?
strip.
Area just gets no love.
We call those donuts, which means there's not enough water pressure and there's the sprinklers just barely trickle around and make
That's
the
So it hits all the outside, but
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
Lammersville's on.
On the plus side, there's no quad here.
There's no quad.
Is there a darn thing we can do about the water pressure there? I don't think there really is there?
This is not a current picture.
I know, but
of-
I'm asking you a serious question, like, because it's on a well, I don't know what we can do about the water pressure.
I don't
you
think
can-
there's a booster pump there.
You can boost the pressure up. The only problem with that is,
Quad's awesome.
depending on the
heads.
Yeah, I love your quad.
plumbing that's there, if you boost the pressure up too high, then you start running into
Blowing out,
pipes bursting and
Beautiful.
that sort of thing. So it's kind of a balancing act, I would guess.
okay.
So, I mean, there is a softball field in Lambertville. Or
Yeah.
a softball ground. There's actually a backstop in the back left corner, upper left corner. I don't know.
Oh, well, it says soccer baseball field.
The only. The issue that I could see with that is that it's, the only way to it is through the campus. Now, it's open, right, to the softball field at Lambertville.
So, we're looking at revising the fencing at Lambertville.
Okay.
Actually, there's a gate over here,
But
but
there's no parking.
true.
If you were to have, if you were gonna have a
And also-
softball tournament there, or a game there.
Also, the campus is all open.
Open
There's,
anyway,
there's
yeah.
really no way to close that
Well, it's
we're
something to look at,
up.
We're looking at revising it, replacing the fencing on the, there's 4-foot fence on the
right
backside
on the
too.
backside, yeah, because that's part of the whole,
3 or 4.
But even in,
talked about that with
in the
the,
front around the buildings and stuff.
Farming.
You can't really effectively close the campus up because a lot of the fences are short or
Well,
they're
that's the proposal we have, is to replace the fence with a 6-foot
in the front
fence.
as well.
Yeah,
Cuesta looks right.
just to secure the
Well-
campus.
I don't think you want to call baseball field 2 at Cuesta baseball field, since there's no actual baseball.
Okay.
What do we want to call it?
It's
Just
a soccer field.
so instead of
There are
baseball
back-
field
there are
2, we're going to call
backdrops.
it soccer field?
Yeah, but there are backdrops at Wicklands. We call them all soccer fields.
We haven't gotten to Wickland yet, Shane. We wouldn't know that.
I guess I would, because I cheat and read ahead. And I would say the same thing. I think you
Also
could,
add quad.
I think you could draw a line at Cuesta to create a soccer and baseball field, so that you could
Here?
potentially have
Oh.
3 fields.
Okay, so that's baseball
'Cause I mean,
and
if
this
you look
is
at, if you look
soccer.
at this line here, and then you do see this line
Yeah.
right there, then you got baseball and you've got
Oh,
soccer.
I did it too short, okay.
Actually, this backstop in the left middle there, with some work, that could probably be developed into a baseball or,
Oh,
You could do,
so cut it in half?
yeah,
Well, we'd have to look at the size.
because I think
yeah,
there's,
down there.
there's a backstop here. You could do the same thing here and make.
But is it a
baseball
full
field.
backstop, or is it one of the shorter backstops?
I think it's a shorter one.
I thought they were full, but
Isn't that one?
I don't remember a Quest on this one. I
Isn't that
know,
one a shorter?
I think it's one of the shorter ones that it's.
I think it is.
maybe you guys are right.
I think this one's over here.
But again,
is
that's
a
always something
full-size
we could
one.
look at, and if there's some way, this one is a full-size one back here, yeah.
So baseball field, soccer, next to the,
Right.
Same
and then
thing
what
on
about
that.
this
Yeah,
thing
break that
slipper
out, too.
here?
Yeah, so you've almost got a line like, yeah, right there, boom.
Yeah.
See how you've got
Okay.
this right there, that you can almost
Oh.
basically draw a line at.
And make that baseball, softball,
Right now, it's baseball,
Right
there's
now
grass.
it's- Yeah,
baseball,
again,
and
something
then
we can look
soccer
at, too.
field again?
It could be a nice
soccer field, yeah.
softball
So
field
two soccer,
be.
okay.
for the young girls, for sure.
well, like you said too, that's also one of those ones, if you're gonna do a knockdown where you just basically mow to the, almost to the dirt.
Well, we get
It's a
a,
great practice opportunity at least.
well, we just
Cuesta
get a
has a
sock
quad
and
area
skin it.
too, correct?
Yes, Quest has a quad area
Right
too.
in the
It
middle?
actually is the best quad area in the town.
It is the best quad area. It is.
I think Wickland's is
Alright,
probably
certainly the
Quest
biggest.
is the best.
And then you do have an extra field that you've missed. This is, you could call that a baseball
I
field.
think we wondered about that. Baseball?
'Cause there's a tiny shorter backstop back here and also one right there.
Oh, baseball, okay.
The bigger backstop is actually, you can see it right here.
Oh, okay.
That's it
Oh,
could, that
so
would,
should we not
if you were
call that
gonna
soccer
turn.
field?
No, because there's no dirt.
Oh.
So, I mean, if there was an area we wanted to completely reskin and create a softball field, that's really the place to do
Here?
it, because it's got
At Wickland?
the large full backstop already, even with the wood backdrop.
This one here?
Yeah, I mean,
No,
if you were gonna
here.
try to make a baseball field, yeah, the one up in the
Long
corner.
enough to go for do it for us.
No, this one.
Yeah, the one he's pointing to,
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh.
not
If
this
we were
one.
gonna do it, that's not this one, because the ones in the bottom are those
We
shorter
want to
backs.
call that a
Yeah.
baseball.
There was one to reskin and turn into a true baseball softball field. It's that one, because I don't know if the other ones have that full backstop, but it's even got the wood paneling at the bottom. It was made
which
to be a
one?
baseball
I think
field.
the one at-
At Wickland,
Which one?
right outside of the 8th grade
No,
building.
no, that's what I
with
thought
the-
you were talking
with the
about, yeah.
green
That's what I thought you were
wooden
talking about.
backdrop.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
if-
that's true, it does.
It's just a question of how do we do it and could we do it?
But
But-
for now, we're just gonna add the baseball.
But yeah, I would just leave it soccer field, baseball field. It's just something for Jimmy to look at and maybe, you know.
I was trying to decide on the basketball courts, I think we've got basketball courts in all of them.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do.
Except for high school,
so then the
apparently, they don't play basketball there.
Yes.
And then, so
Oh, yeah,
then,
quad here that's right, at Wickland, right in the
and
middle.
then there's also, so at some point, you're gonna have the softball field and the baseball fields
Some point,
completely
we didn't
fenced off,
mark it,
right?
yeah.
So we'll be able to open up this middle area as a soccer field.
I think at the high school near the softball is some basketball courts.
Oh, is that what these are?
Yes, I
Okay,
believe
that
so.
would make sense.
Once all the
That's probably-
construction's done.
Back here. But yeah, but, and that's what,
Basketball courts, now that you say what it is.
we're gonna have to,
Bothering these, taking up.
yeah,
construction is
this
taking
whole
up
area,
This
right?
area and this area.
Yeah, this one I know is taken up too, cause I was just there this morning, so.
You
If
could-
you haven't been through there, you
You
should
should
go
probably
through.
add quad to the high school too, though. There's no power there at all.
You seen the pool lately?
I was there today.
Oh,
NPR
were you?
on
I was
here.
there last night.
Did we do that on any
Today
of
for
them?
softball, or for volleyball.
Okay,
Is
so
there any
just
water?
those-
Is there any water in it, guys?
And everything.
Just
Look, there's
fields.
some water in the pool here.
When it rains.
It rained today.
It did rain.
Probably
Might
not
be a little.
enough to accumulate water.
Not yet.
I don't think so.
And so then you got the quad
Do we
too.
wanna put any availability?
I don't think so yet,
I don't
because you
think so.
can't,
That's what I
until
thought.
you get the softball field fenced off, then we can open up that field.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Got it.
And then that,
Well, we
that,
can-
hopefully they can springboard back to opening up of the fields, because that really is a full-size soccer field. So,
I liked that. So as soon as Rita makes these revisions, she will upload these into civic permits.
all right, action items, amendment, use of high school baseball
Well,
softball
that
fields.
was in
We're gonna
case
table
we-
that. We're gonna table it. I don't know that necessarily I have a position either way at this point. I agree with what Jimmy said. We have to have the fields be pristine. But if we could find a way, I like Corey's idea of, if we could just do it Saturdays, that's only really now, you're talking about only 15 days worth of use. I think we
If
can
that's
find a way to
what,
make that work.
what is requested, Patrick seemed to talk as though if he had a field at one of the K-8s that was good enough to play softball in, that would be good enough for him. So I think,
I'm just talking about, he talked about future, I would talk about for the future too, because
Yeah.
right now his is only a rec team, and at some point we will get a travel team out here.
Right, that's my concern, is that we need to look forward to when the softball team also has a rec team or has a travel team that's associated with our softball players, and then we get into a point where we're saying no to the softball teams, but maybe saying yes to the basketball or the baseball teams that are doing travel and doing this whole
high
sketchy
school-
AAU thing too.
Yeah, but that's,
I mean,
that's what it is. It's truly the high school teams, that's
If the
one
high
thing.
school had a travel ball program, which I'm a travel ball coach, I would say, yes, go for it. Use the
That's,
softball field.
that's
I
the
mean,
only place, we don't let the comp soccer team use the field other than the soccer football stadium other than once a year for their, all-star game. So they don't really, and that's just for the rec team. They don't really, they use other facilities in other areas. So, you know, the only AAU style teams that use the high school facilities are the ones that are built around the high school team that we have to use to go within the rules and have
Right, I'm just saying
off-season
eventually
practices.
that might be the case with softball as well.
Absolutely. So, but still, I would
It's
like
not
to-
today, so.
I do still
should
think,
have it, yeah.
I do still think because we only have one field for each one at the high school, we have to look at other options and alternatives. So unless we can build ones at the K-8 schools. Use of the theater and the pool has to come up soon.
Yeah, I had to just left it on as a future agenda topic, so
And our next meeting is
November 9th.
November 9th at 6:30, right, Shaw. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
I talked a lot.
No, these are very productive though.
It's helpful for staff and everything else. And like I say, I like that we brainstorm and come up with different ideas. That's, to me, I don't like saying no to either side. And if we don't have to in this situation, I'd love it. So with that, I will say we are adjourned at
All right, thank you.
7:58.
Thank you.